That behind me is a 2026 Jeep Cherokee, and it's back after a 3-year hiatus. It has less power than it did. The V6 is gone. It can't tow nearly as much, but at the very least, in this hyper-competitive crossover segment, think Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, or even Subaru Forester Hybrid, it needed to compete. So it's larger than it's ever been. There's more space inside. They've updated the interior, and on top of that, every Cherokee is now a hybrid, and it should be a lot more efficient to drive on a daily basis. So we're going to go over all of the features inside and out. Let's go for a drive. All right, first things first, they have ditched the traditional gear selector with this rotary dial. It doesn't bother me all that much because it's freed up a bunch of space in the interior, which we'll get to in a second. But how easy would it have been just to put a stock up here? Instead of that, they've moved all of the wipers to the left side here, and then your headlight controls are buttons down here. All right, so I mentioned every Cherokee is a hybrid. That's true. Under the hood is a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 4, transverse mounted, of course, and then it has a hybrid motor. It's a parallel hybrid system. We'll get into that in a second, but let's just see, once we put it in sport mode, how quickly we can get off the line. Engine fires up. Underwhelming. There we go. Full revs. That engine's paired with an E-CVT effectively, so it has every characteristic of what you would feel and expect from a CVT, in that it doesn't have traditional gears. You're not feeling gears shift. So what you get just is an incredibly smooth roll on of torque. And a gas engine actually fires up really quickly. If it's off and you're just cruising in all electric mode, hit the gas, fires up quick. You have decent torque, 210 horsepower and 230 pound-feet of torque. So I wasn't kidding. This has less power, at least than the outgoing 2-liter turbo engine. Not only that, but the V6 from the Trailhawk is also gone. So in exchange, we do get 6.3 liters per 100 kilometers average fuel economy, or combined between city and highway. I've been able to do a lot better than that. Of course, the Cherokee is not like begging me to drive like an asshole. So to me, that's worth the trade-off, especially because the important part here is just the power delivery. It is smooth to drive. There's torque all of the time. And yeah, when the engine fires up, it doesn't sound that great. It's a little bit louder too, but just easy and smooth to drive, quiet most of the time. So as a daily, it's improved in almost every way. Is it as engaging to drive as the CX-50? No, absolutely not. That is one of the outliers in that it still has a 6-speed transmission. It's got a real transmission. The steering feel is much better. It has a circle for a steering wheel. That also helps. And that engine just produces so much torque. I'm not talking about the hybrid. I'm talking about the standard gas model. So if you're after that with this size of vehicle, that's out there. It's a fully contained hybrid system. It's not a plug-in. It just regenerates electricity on its own, deploys that when necessary, shuts off the engine when necessary, fires up when necessary, all behind the scenes. To me, this is the best kind of system for a daily driver if you just don't really care about driver feel. CVTs have no soul. This powertrain doesn't feel special at all, but neither does the CR-V hybrid, CX-50 hybrid, RAV4 hybrid, Forester hybrid. Name your kind of vanilla crossover hybrid. They all feel the same now, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The Cherokee just makes up for that in other ways, specifically packaging. This has gained a little bit of weight. It is about 200 pounds heavier, and the wheelbase is about 5.4 inches longer. So what we get here on the street, it's still a comfortable ride. It airs definitely on the stiffer side, although over big bumps, it just does not care. I mean, speed bumps, ignore them. You can take those really quickly. It's just all of the little small imperfections in the road come through the steering, they come through the seat. So not quite to the level of ride quality you would find in a RAV4 hybrid or a CR-V hybrid. One thing that long wheelbase has done is it's made the turning radius worse. This is noticeably worse to make a U-turn or a 5-point turn than a CR-V or a CX-50 hybrid. Now, I mentioned towing. That old Trailhawk could tow up to 4,000 pounds. So the Cherokee now can tow up to 3,500 pounds. So that's lower than the previous Cherokee, but higher than pretty much all the competition. Yeah, it's a little bit slower, a little bit heavier than that previous naturally aspirated V6, but honestly, if you're looking for that very specific naturally aspirated V6 in a vehicle with this shape and this size, the Honda Passport still exists. For how long that V6 will be in there, I don't know, but there's an option for you. So all Cherokees get all-wheel drive as well. So the rear axle can be decoupled. When you're just cruising here, you've got front-wheel drive, and that aids in getting that efficiency that the Forester hybrid just cannot match. This is right on par with the RAV4 hybrid and the CR-V hybrid as far as efficiency goes. So that's a huge win. It is kind of funny that they still put the 4x4 badge on the back. I mean, this is not proper 4x4. It's not four-wheel drive. It doesn't have a proper transfer case. If you want all-wheel drive all the time and you want to tell the Cherokee that, hey, yeah, I'm about to hit some loose surface, you've got your drive modes for that. Super simple, just snow, sand, and mud. Whereas if you go down to sport, you can get that engine to fire up a lot quicker. Not only that, but traction control turns off actually in sport mode, which is hilarious. That's something I would expect in, I don't know, a GT63 AMG or some other sports car, but all right. It also has a new gauge cluster. This is the second vehicle I've driven in a month with an incredibly laggy gauge cluster. It's a trend that needs to go away. I mean, I'm not really going to be looking down there because I don't have an RPM gauge, but this is bad. It's 12 frames per second, 15 frames per second. There's another thing I don't like about the driving experience. This steering wheel is shaped the same way the Zinger 21C steering wheel is shaped. And then there's the door handles, which they've gone with an electronic release on the inside and on the outside. Now, if you're worried about, okay, getting locked in here, the redundant mechanical door release is actually really easy to get to. It's just down here, but in my opinion, it just was not necessary. This is what I feel like was going on behind the scenes when they were redesigning this Jeep Cherokee. They got bored because they're no longer designing and engineering the Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. So what do? Well, they've got more time to spend on the Cherokee. And what I'm saying is restraint would have gone a long way. Just give us a circle steering wheel and normal door handles. That would have been great. The Grand Cherokee, if you're wondering, does not have these electronic door handles. So that's all well and good. But we are going to make this quick because the mosquitoes out here by the river are eating me alive. But the new design, immediately identifiable as a Cherokee from the front. From the rear, not so much. It definitely looks, or at least this shape, gives it more of kind of an off-road feel. It's similar to the Honda Passport in shape. And like I mentioned, it's bigger in every dimension. It's wider, it's taller, it's longer in overall length. Not only that, but the wheelbase is quite a bit longer as well. So what that does for packaging, we'll see in a second. The rear end, not so identifiable as a Jeep, but just simple. It's a lot more edgy than the previous model. The previous model was just kind of a giant bubble. They ditched the squinty headlights. A lot of those SUVs from the time, even the older CR-V, the Nissan Murano going way back, they all had that similar shape, whereas, hey, edges are back, simple boxy designs are back. And then as far as exhaust tips go, on a CR-V, for the equivalent trim, you would get dual exhaust, well, fake dual exhaust tips down here, whereas you just get that single kind of hidden exhaust pipe. Let's see how much cargo we have. We do have 30% more cargo capacity back here versus the previous Cherokee, and that's huge. That is massive. I mean, they pushed this in size a lot closer to the Grand Cherokee. You are able to spec a small size spare, and if you don't, that just opens up actually a ton of additional cargo space, as you guys can see. So that's huge. Not only that, the second row, because of that extended wheelbase, so much room in the second row. I am thoroughly impressed, noticeably more than, let's say, a CR-V, although a CR-V gets a little bit more cargo space, so you can tell they prioritized second room seating, and they pulled the same trick to cut costs, I guess. So there's only a seat pocket behind the passenger seat and not the driver's seat. So every other crossover kind of in this segment has the button to close the hatch up here. The Cherokee, for some reason, puts the button down there. I guess less wiring, whatever the case may be. It takes an extra second once you hit the button to kind of, it waits for you to get out of the way. So not a huge deal, just something I noticed. All right, inside I mentioned the digital gauge cluster. You can put your native maps in there. You're not, however, able to take your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay maps and stick it in the gauge cluster. For this price point, that's not a huge deal. They've completely revamped the interior. This is put together actually really well. This is a huge improvement, especially over the previous generation. The 2023 model was still that really bubbly and kind of bulbous look, and there was not a lot of storage space whatsoever. It just felt like there was a lot of empty space behind the dash. They've solved that. What moving the gear selector has done is just given us a ton more space here. Center console, huge wireless charger there. Things could be worse. That's what I'll say about the climate control. It could be buried in the touchscreen. It's not, it's just down here in a single row. They are haptic feedback touch controls, so they'll give you a little bit of a vibration when you touch them, but they never move, they're always there. It's fine, it works. The Uconnect, as Stellantis, as Jeep calls it here, works just fine. I do like how for your phone integration, there is still the Jeep kind of UI always there. So it doesn't take a lot to get out of Android Auto or Apple CarPlay and back to your standard kind of native controls. So you do have to pay for the tech pack to get built-in navigation. I don't imagine a lot of you are going to be using that anyways, so that is not a big deal. Full climate control comes up with one button, and then you actually have, what is it called, off-road pages, some just additional info. So that's cool. It's easy to use, not distracting, and it looks pretty good. Materials are all pretty good. There is no leather option for the Cherokee. They've also ditched that. The previous one had leather options. The CR-V at the touring level has leather trimmed steering wheel, leather trimmed seats. So that is a little bit of a downside if you care about that, but we do have the huge panel roof. This does have, of course, heated seats and a heated steering wheel. The controls are always blocked by the steering wheel. And yes, that's not helped by the fact that the steering wheel is unnecessarily chunky and thick, but I have to, I'm guessing, honestly, it's a little bit distracting. I have to look down constantly if I want my heated seat on or if I want my heated steering wheel on. You can just tap away. You get what you get. That works. At the very least, the volume knob is physical. It's always there, so you can reach for that. But those other controls, yeah. A great competitor. I mean, improved in so many ways. It's way more efficient. It has a ton more space for cargo and your passengers. It starts here in Canada at $43,000. This one, as spec'd, is $57,000. I'm driving the limited trim. If you guys haven't figured it out already, there is an overland trim above this, but overall, great daily, easy to drive, and as efficient gets, especially if you're not looking to get into a plug-in hybrid. You just want a vehicle that works, that drives, is smooth, is quiet, and has enough space for all your things and your friends. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll see you next time.